Now we're going to do the same thing. You can kind of treat this as a warm-up as well, talking about perpendicular lines. So if you look at A, our slope of that line, I'm going to pick this point and this point. We go up 1, 2, 3, and right 4. So my slope of line A is 3/4. My slope of line B, if I take 2 points, so here's a point, here's another point. We go down 1, 2, 3, 4, right 3. So it's -4/3. Hopefully we can notice something about these two slopes, right? They are opposite signs. And they're flipped. Do they look perpendicular? Well, hopefully you said yes, because these perpendicular, they have to intersect at a 90-degree angle, which is hard to tell when it's tilted the way it is. If you turn your computer screen or your paper, you could see that it is a pretty good right angle. So they are perpendicular. So perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocal. Or they're opposite and then you flip them. Okay, so what we mean by that is one's positive, one's negative, and then they flip. So 2/3 perpendicular would be -3/2. Okay, if you have -2, your reciprocal would be a positive 1/2. Okay, because -2 is really -2/1. So flip it and then change the sign. So given this slope, find parallel and perpendicular. Well, if the slope is 3/4, then a parallel line is 3/4. But perpendicular, flip it 4/3 and make it negative. If my slope is -4, then parallel slope is -4. And perpendicular would be flipped, which is 1/4. And again, if it's negative, then your perpendicular slope would be positive. Last one, 0. Okay, this one's a little different. Obviously, parallel would be 0. If 0 is this way, a perpendicular line would be up and down. Up and down lines, or the x equals a number, has undefined slope. Okay, you can think about this as to get 0, it would be 0 divided by 0, right? To get, if you were to flip it, you'd have a number divided by 0, which is something you can't do. You can't have 0 groups of something. That's why it becomes undefined. All right, so this time we are going to do the same thing, except we are going to find the perpendicular. Okay, so we did slope-intercept form as our final answer, but we want perpendicular to the line. So this is actually the same two equations, right? So this is the equation we used earlier, and we found the slope to be 3. This time, I want perpendicular slope. So I need to flip it, so it becomes 1/3. And since it's positive, our slope is going to be negative. Now, this is the slope we use with this point. So point slope form, I minus I1 equals -1/2, sorry, 1/3, let's try that again, x minus x1. So we do the same process to get it in slope intercept. Distribute. And I don't know why I can't write -1/3. So we distribute like that. And then now we are going to 4. And we get y equals -1/3 x, and then minus 3 and or 3.6. So on this next one, I'm going to solve for y quickly because we already have. We would move 2x over, and then we would divide everything by 3, which would mean y equals 2 minus 2/3 x. And again, we did that earlier in B. So once again, our slope is -2/3. But now I need perpendicular slope. So flip it, get negative, or we get 3 over 2, and it would be positive because our original slope is negative. At this point, if we put it in point slope, we get y minus 6 equals 3 halves x minus negative 2. Distribute, y minus 6 equals 3 halves x plus 3. Add 6 to both sides, and y equals 3 halves x. Okay, so these are similar questions. Okay, it just says write an equation of a line that is parallel to y equals negative 3x plus 9 and goes through a point. Okay, again, we want slope intercept. So again, I need to find the slope here first. So my slope is negative 3, and I need parallel slope. Well, parallel slope is the same, so we really are using negative 3. So now we have slope, we have a point. Put it in point slope. Y minus 4 equals negative 3x minus 1. All we have to do is solve for y, distribute the negative 3, add the 4, y equals negative 3x plus 7. On number 4, this time it says perpendicular. Okay, and it does say we just need it in point slope. So if my equation is this, right, y equals negative 2/3 x minus 6, my slope is negative 2/3. Now I need perpendicular slope. So flip it, 3 halves, right? Because we started with a negative, this one would be positive. So now we're going to use our point 9, 9. So y minus 9 equals 3 halves x minus 9. Distribute the 3 halves. We get y minus 9 equals 3 halves x, and that would be 27, 27 over 2, which I'm going to put as a decimal. 27 over 2 is 13 and a half. I just don't want that big of a fraction, because now I'm going to add 9 to it. Y equals 3 halves x, and that gives me negative 4.5. So you could have kept it as a fraction, that would just be negative 9 over 2. Number 5, we only have a couple more. Write the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 4x and goes through negative 1, negative 2 in standard form. Be careful here. Okay, now again, we want parallel, so my slope is 4, parallel slope is 4. As always, point and a slope, put it in point slope. Y minus negative 2 equals 4 times x minus negative 1. So we distribute 4x plus 4. We would subtract 2 over. But now this is slope intercept. I need standard. So remember, standard is ax plus by equals c. Now my problem that I still have here is that our x is negative, and that a value cannot be negative. We have to flip the signs. Next one, equation that is parallel to this line. Well, we don't know what the slope is of that line until we solve for y. So I would add 8 over. And now I need to divide by 2. So y equals negative 7 halves x plus 4. Now I know my slope is negative 7 halves, and I need parallel slope, which is the same slope of negative 7 halves. So now let's use this to put it in point slope form, which actually is what they want as our final answer. Y minus 4 equals negative 7 halves x minus 3. Write the equation of the line that's perpendicular to 3y equals 9x. That goes through the x-intercept of that equation. Okay, so first let's take the first part, perpendicular to this line. So I need to find out what the slope is. I have 3 and y equals 3. That means my slope is 3, my perpendicular slope is -1. Now I need to go through the x-intercept of this equation. Now remember, to find the x-intercept, all we have to do is plug in for y equals 0. So we have 7 times 0 minus 4x equals 28. 7 times 0 would cancel. Divide by -14, and x is -2. So that means it goes to the point -2, 0. So now we can put it in point slope form. Y minus 0 equals -1/3 x plus 2. All we have to do here is distribute the -1/3, and we get -1/3 x minus 2/3. And that would be our answer if we are supposed to be in slope intercept, but they want standard form. So I'm going to move the x over first. So we have 1/3 x plus y equals -2/3. But we need to get rid of the fractions. We can't have fractions with this. So we're going to multiply everything by 3. When we do that, we get x plus 3y equals negative. So these last couple questions, I'm going to do like 2 of them, and then you can check your answers for other ones. I'll have them all posted. But they just want you to determine whether they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so for letter A, it's already solved for it, right? So I know that the slope of this line is -5, and I know the slope of this line is 5. Now be careful, remember parallel, they have to be exactly the same, and these are not, so it's not parallel. And many of you probably thought that these were perpendicular, but remember, they have to be opposite and reciprocals. So these are not flipped, so these are neither. In order for it to be perpendicular, like this one would have to be a positive 1/5. So let's go ahead and jump down to, actually I'll do letter B, okay? And then the other 2 you can check. So for these, I have to solve for y first. So this is 8x minus 7. I'm not really here because the slope is just 8. But on the other one, if I don't solve for y, I can't really solve it. So we have 8 equals 48 plus x if we move the x over. And then we would divide each term by 8, which gives me y equals 6 plus 1/8 x. And my slope is 1. Okay, so again, this time, many of you probably thought, okay, this one is perpendicular, right? Because they're obviously not parallel. But once again, not only do they have to be reciprocals, they have to be reciprocals and opposite signs, which they are not. This one is also. So be careful with those. Okay, so go ahead and do the other 2 and then check on my answer. Make sure you got them right.